here, and I thought I would on the Hanover experience, you know, year 2. We're about halfway through. We're about halfway through the second year, so you know, I thought I'd talk about it. Now, I'm not going to be able to compare to last year as well, because frankly, I don't remember a lot of last year, and so you know, we're just going to go from here, okay? So year 2 Hanover, what's it like? Well, I can say with some what's the word I'm looking for here? I can say with some confidence. Yes, that's the word. I could say, oh shit. I could say with some confidence that I am enjoying my experience at Hanover less than I did last year. Now some of you might be saying like, oh, why? Elaborate, please. And okay, here we go. So last year I didn't do a lot. You know, I would go to classes, I would eat meals, and that would be it, essentially. But what happened this year is to say that I was elected to be the Senate representative for tabletop is a little bit inaccurate. No voting actually took place. So essentially what happened is, you know, I was the only one who ran, so I got the position by default, you know. So, you know, I started going to Student Senate because it's a requirement, obviously. I mean, wait a minute. So what happened? So it basically, Student Senate, nobody wants to do it. Well, I say nobody. What I mean is nobody in tabletop wants to do it. And I was naive and didn't understand why at first. I understand now. Student Senate is fucking awful, alright? It's basically just like listening to a bunch of annoying activists talk. Well, wait, let me rephrase that. That's not entirely accurate. What it is listening to the president of the Senate, who I still have some semblance of hope for, talk about annoying activist things. Not things, geez. Use my words here. Annoying activist, oh boy. Annoying activists like, I had to stop playing Gmod and think, like, topics of discussion, you know? And going to Senate and hearing some of the complaints is just, well, it is incredibly annoying. I mean, it is just, some of the complaints, like, oh, the sidewalk's uneven. Like, what? It's some of the most just, it's stupid shit. Don't get me wrong, it's stupid fucking shit. And I hate it. But, you know, tabletop needs the money. But this isn't the main point I'm getting to. So, as some of you might know, Hanover is a left-leaning college. I mean, you know, yeah, and with that comes a certain set of stereotypes that I'm sure all of you are completely aware of. One of the primary ones being the presence of social justice on campus. Now, if you've been paying attention to any non-traditional publications, i.e. like just anything online, essentially, that isn't social justice trash. You know that social justice it's fucking out of control on college campuses. And I wouldn't describe it as being out of control on Hanover's campus. I would describe it as present and irritating. Because if we want my honest opinion, which I do give my honest opinion, social justice in any form has absolutely no place in an academic environment. Zero. Unless the objective here is to, ridicule and make fun of it, in which case that makes sense. I mean, that's acceptable. Because that's all it's really good for. It's the dumbest ideology on the planet. Hell, it's a religion. All right? It's not. Sorry. It's not. Anyway. I will go on to describe a particular event that I've been kind of stepping around. Essentially, what happened is the feminist club, and yes, that's a thing on campus, and I am absolutely just revolted and disappointed by that, and I know how that makes me sound. Makes me sound like an entitled shit, but I'll deal with it for now. The feminist club on campus was hosting an event called, what was it? It was like, Gender Wage Gap Jeopardy, I didn't notice these posters until I had gone to the mailroom to eat lunch, because the place where I was eating was crowded. I had seen this, and I had glanced at it and just caught it, it was like, oh, I didn't think of anything of it. Then it clicked, and it was like, wait a second, hold up. I looked over, and I actually read the damn thing. It's like, are you fucking serious? You're pulling this shit? And so I thought I'd ask the Senate, like, hey, can we cancel this? Because that has no place here. I was going to ask. The Senate was the next day, and I was going to ask if we could cancel this. It was on a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday that I noticed the poster, and the event was held that day. So I realized this as I was heading to Senate, and I had written up some talking points on a note card. And I realized it's like, oh fuck, I'm going to have to readjust some of my talking points here. And I did. I did. And I called the Senate, the Gender Wage Gap Jeopardy let me try and quote myself here, it is purposefully spreading false information, because the wage gap isn't real. I mean, and if you think so, you're either brainwashed or an idiot. And for the most part, I like to believe that students on Hanover's campus are brainwashed. But some of them it makes me wonder. But that's not the point. The point is that I brought it up in Senate. Oh shit. I brought it up in Senate, and I was met with opposition from everybody. No one in the room agreed with me, and I can understand. And there were some people in there I knew who I know, and if you didn't know anything about the kind of people I try to surround myself with, I'm fairly certain they agreed with me, but they didn't want to say anything in front of the entire student senate, in front of the entire annoying student senate. So what happened was, I brought up my talking points, said, hey, can we make sure this doesn't happen again? And, well, the feminist club representatives got super pissed at me, which they should have. They should have. And, that's that week. And, I mean, I could go on for a while about Senate, about things we have talked about in Senate alone. That is just what the fuck? Why? But I won't, because that would make this video entirely too lengthy, and I'm almost done with my setup here for something else. But, and I'm fairly certain, I know, I'm not fairly certain, I am 100% confident that as a result of that, I have made a couple of enemies at Hanover. The people, there are groups, there's probably a certain kind of person there who's not my biggest fan anymore, and that's fine. That's fine. I mean, what mattered more was, the fact that I was essentially saying, like, cut the shit. I mean, and social justice doesn't just appear in Senate. It's also appeared in 2 classes that I've had. First one was economics, in which I think she was Thai, the professor, who was a woman, attempted to blame every single problem in economics, every flaw. She tried to pin it somehow on race, and I was like, oh my fucking god. Once I realized it's like, oh shit. And a prime example, this is going back to last year, but this is something I can remember. Prime example of, not a prime example, but an example of, I guess this is just a rant at this point about fucking, this professor, but she asked us, us as in the class, if we were in support of the death penalty, because that had come up, as some sort of, it had come up in economics. And all but, I think, and this is in the class, all but I think 2 of us supported it. And we brought up the point that's like, if we cut out lethal injections and the electric chair and just resorted to, a bullet, bullets are cheap. All right, we can solve the prison problem by, execution. We could partially solve the prison problem with execution. But anyway, that's last year. Fast forward to this year, and in my sociology class, which I guess I should have seen this coming, but I hold a naive notion of hope for this fucking campus. But I held out the naive notion that we wouldn't go down the social justice, moron hole. And for a long time in my sociology class, we didn't, and this was good. we were learning about actual social principles like, groupthink and, the structures of society, conflict theory, etc., etc., etc. All right, sorry. But then that all ended when we got to, let me see, where did it start? It started with gender and sexuality, and then moved on to race, which, oh boy, you know how these fucking social justice, I don't call them people because I don't consider them people, but these fucking social justice people love their segregation based on race, class, and gender. Gotta have those 175 plus fictional genders in order to claim that a whole bunch of groups that aren't, white, straight people aren't oppressed. Anyway, I'm getting off topic again because I'm kind of getting pissed. The point, we got to this, and that's where all my hope faded. It was like, oh, fucking shit. Because we had watched a documentary that I had seen in econ, and it was more fitting in the sociology course, so I was a little bit more forgiving about it showing. But it was still somewhat annoying to have it preached to us by some white knight cuck that we have to progress towards a more conscious society. It's like, are you fucking serious? I mean, I understand. Sorry. I understand, it's do not discriminate, but I'm not going to be preached to by somebody who sides with the people who are extremely discriminatory themselves. That's not going to fly. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much the definition of hypocrisy. I will not be preached to, and I will not follow a man, who is discriminatory and says, don't discriminate. Not going to do it. Not the point. This rant is just, anyway. So I took notes let's see, I think I still have them right here actually, and I titled this was a week-long thing. When I say week-long, I mean 3 days. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I called it Social Justice Week. Here we are. All right, so I have some of my notes right here, and you know, some of these notes are just questions I had. Some of them were just grievances I had, like with the soft. I hate soft language. Like, don't. I also hate beating around the bush, but I tend to do it myself. It's a flaw that I try to correct. And a lot of this documentary, you know, it would present quote unquote facts. You can't see my hands, and then not present evidence. And that came up frequently in my notes based on what I'm reading here. And it was constantly just like, oh, race is this huge big issue. Oh god, I almost threw up right there. Blah 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 blah. God, it's having negative effects on me impersonating these people. And one of the notes I put in was like, is race really the biggest issue we need to deal with right now? Don't we have something more important? I even wrote down that diversity is a luxury, and I do believe that diversity is not a necessity. And I'm not talking about diversity of ideas. I'm talking about, you know, the social justice diversity. Diversity of ideas is important. You want to have multiple perspectives from multiple people with different experiences. This is how things go forward. And let's see, what else have I got here? Blah blah blah. Yeah, and there was a whole bunch of like virtue signaling, trying to cause white guilt at the end, and then, you know, it was annoying. And I feel like it's as I get farther and farther along in my time at Hanover, it's only going to get worse. Which is why for the most part I isolate myself and don't take part in the community, because it's just, I know I'm outnumbered and I don't want to have to put up with stupidity. But you know. Anyway, that was my. So if I had to rate, you know, the Hanover experience. From my perspective, meaning that people who have ideas similar to mine could take this into account if they apply to Hanover. I would rate the Hanover experience a solid 6 out of 10. The education is wonderful. Should you not get a social justice professor, which I haven't had a large number of professors, but I've had 2 bad ones, and all the rest were great, which is uplifting to my spirit. But the amount of activism on campus is kind of a, you know, I'll just flat out say it's a turnoff. Not a turnoff. That makes it sound weird. It's not. It makes me regret my decision to a certain extent. But, so, you know, I'll up it to a 7 because I've only had 2 bad professors. But yeah, that's how I rate the Hanover experience from halfway through my sophomore year. A 7 out of 10. That's a C. That's not great. That's not terrible, but it's also not great. And anyway, yeah, that'll be the end of it from me for now. That'll be the end of this rant about fucking, I don't know, you know, man, I don't fucking know. Anyway, I've been GZ, and I realize I've been standing here forever. I gotta get this thing going. Anyway, I've been GZ. Until I see you next time, have a little fun, maybe setting up some shit in Gmod for another video. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!